Competitive Advantage, Creating and Sustaining Superior Performance, by Michael E. Porter. Introduction. Have you ever wondered why two coffee shops, right next to each other, can have such wildly different fates? One is always bustling, with a line out the door, while the other is quiet, empty, and eventually, a for lease sign appears in its window. They both sell coffee. They both have tables and chairs. But one is winning and the other is losing. Or think about the airline industry. For decades, flying was a luxury. Then, a British entrepreneur named Freddie Laker came along with an idea. What if an airline did away with all the frills? No meals, no fancy service, just a cheap ticket from London to New York. He called it the SkyTrain, and for a while, it was a revolution. Laker Airways was the hero of the budget traveler. But then, something went wrong. He started adding new routes, fancier services, trying to compete with the big guys on their own terms. And in 1982, the airline that had once been the talk of the town collapsed into bankruptcy. What happened? What's the invisible force that separates success from failure, profit from loss, a thriving business from an empty coffee shop? The answer lies in a concept that is the very heart of all success in business and, in many ways, in life. It's called competitive advantage. And the man who gave us the blueprint to understand it is a brilliant professor from Harvard Business School, Michael E. Porter. In 1985, he published a book that would become a cornerstone of modern business strategy. A book that has been a secret weapon for CEOs and entrepreneurs for decades. It's called Competitive Advantage. This wasn't just another business book. It was the essential follow-up to his legendary work, Competitive Strategy. If the first book explained the rules of the game, the arena of competition, then this book, Competitive Advantage, explains how you, the player, can actually win. It has sold millions of copies and has been translated into countless languages, but its true impact isn't in sales figures. Its impact is in the boardrooms, the business plans, and the strategic decisions that have shaped the world we live in. Porter gave us a language and a toolkit to see beneath the surface of a company and understand what truly makes it tick. And that is my promise to you today. By the end of our time together, you won't just understand the ideas in this book. You will have a new lens through which to see the world. You'll understand the secret code behind why companies like Apple can charge a premium for their phones, why Walmart can offer such low prices, and why that little neighborhood bookstore you love can survive against a giant like Amazon. And more than that, you'll start to see how you can apply these timeless principles to build your own unique advantage in whatever path you choose. So, let's begin our journey into the heart of what it takes to create and sustain superior performance. Book Summary. To understand how to win in any competitive field, Michael Porter tells us we must first answer two fundamental questions. First, why are some industries consistently more profitable than others? Think about it. For years, making pharmaceuticals has been incredibly profitable, while running an airline has been notoriously difficult, with thin margins and frequent bankruptcies. It's not because the people in one industry are smarter or work harder than in the other. It's because the very structure of the industry, the rules of the game, are different. Second, within any given industry, why are some companies so much more successful than their rivals? In the world of soft drinks, why have Coca-Cola and Pepsi dominated for a century, while countless others have fizzled out? The answer to that first question, about the industries themselves, is the subject of Porter's first great book, Competitive Strategy. He gave us a powerful framework for understanding the rules of the game, which he called the 5 forces. Imagine you're about to play a game. Before you can come up with a winning strategy, you need to understand the field, the rules, and the other players. That's what the 5 forces are. The first force is the threat of new entrants. How easy is it for new players to jump into the game? For a software company, it can be incredibly hard because of the massive costs of research and development and building a brand. For a local landscaping business, the barrier is much lower. The harder it is for newcomers to enter, the more profitable the industry can be for those already inside. The second force is the bargaining power of buyers. How much power do your customers have to drive down your prices? If you're selling a common commodity, like steel, to a few giant automakers, the buyers have immense power. But if you're selling a life-saving, patented drug, the buyer's power is much, much lower. The third force is the bargaining power of suppliers. This is the flip side. How much power do the people you buy from have to raise their prices? An airline is at the mercy of its powerful suppliers, the aircraft manufacturers like Boeing and Airbus, and the unions representing its pilots. A company like McDonald's, on the other hand, has enormous power over its many suppliers of potatoes and beef. The fourth force is the threat of substitute products or services. Is there another way for your customers to get the same job done? Taxis once had a comfortable business, until ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft came along as a powerful substitute. The more substitutes there are, the less freedom you have to raise your prices. And finally, the fifth force is the rivalry among existing competitors. How intense is the fight among the players already in the game? In the fast food industry, the rivalry is fierce, with constant price wars and advertising battles. In a quieter industry, like postage meters, the rivalry is much less intense. These five forces together determine the overall attractiveness of an industry. They set the stage. But just knowing the rules of the game isn't enough to win. You need a strategy. And that brings us to the second question: how do you win within your industry? This is the core of competitive advantage. Porter argues that, in the long run, superior performance comes down to one thing and one thing only: possessing a sustainable competitive advantage. And he says there are only two fundamental types of competitive advantage a company can have: low cost or differentiation. Combining these two advantages with the scope of the market you choose to serve, either a broad market or a narrow one, gives us three fundamental strategies for success. He calls them the generic strategies. Think of them as the three main paths up the mountain of success. You must choose one path and stick to it. The first path is cost leadership. The goal here is simple and singular: to become the low-cost producer in your industry. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being the most efficient. A cost leader relentlessly strips out every unnecessary expense from its operations, from manufacturing to marketing. They leverage economies of scale, use proprietary technology, and secure preferential access to raw materials. Think of a company like Walmart. Its entire business is a finely tuned machine designed to drive costs down so it can offer everyday low prices. By having the lowest cost structure, a cost leader can either charge the same price as its competitors and earn a higher profit margin, or it can lower its prices to gain market share. But there's a trap here. A cost leader cannot completely ignore quality. If your product is so poor that nobody finds it acceptable, your low cost won't matter. You'll be forced to offer such deep discounts that you wipe out your advantage. Porter says a cost leader must achieve parity or proximity in the things that matter to customers. Your product has to be seen as comparable, or at least acceptable, to the alternatives. You have to be good enough on the other dimensions, while being the undisputed champion of cost. The second path is differentiation. If cost leadership is about winning on price, differentiation is about winning on uniqueness. A differentiator seeks to be special in its industry along dimensions that are widely valued by buyers. This uniqueness could be based on the product itself, its design, its features, its durability. It could be the delivery system, the marketing approach, or the customer service. Think of Apple. It doesn't compete on price. It competes on design, user experience, and a powerful brand ecosystem. People are willing to pay a premium for an iPhone not just because of what it does, but because of what it represents. Or consider Caterpillar in the construction equipment industry. Their differentiation isn't just in making durable tractors, it's in their incredible service network and spare parts availability, which guarantees that a customer's expensive machine won't be idle for long. The key to a successful differentiation strategy is that the price premium you command must be greater than the extra cost you incur to be unique. You can't ignore your cost position. If your costs are so high that they swallow up your premium price, you won't be profitable. A differentiator aims for cost parity or proximity, but its main focus is always on creating that unique value that customers will pay more for. Now, you might be thinking, what if I don't want to take on the whole market? What if I'm not Walmart or Apple? That brings us to the third path. The third path is focus. This strategy is different from the first two because it rests on the choice of a narrow competitive scope. Instead of trying to serve everyone, a focuser picks a specific segment of the market, a particular group of buyers, a specific product line, or a limited geographic area, and tailors its strategy to serve that segment exclusively. The focuser says, I'm not going to be the best in the world, I'm going to be the best in this world. The focus strategy has two variants, which mirror the first two strategies. A company pursuing cost focus seeks a cost advantage in its narrow target segment. It looks for a niche of buyers who are underserved by the broad market competitors. For example, a furniture company might focus only on making affordable, ready-to-assemble furniture for college students and young adults, a segment that IKEA has masterfully served. A company pursuing differentiation focus seeks to be unique in its target segment. It looks for buyers with special needs and serves them better than anyone else. Think of a high-end sports car manufacturer like Ferrari. They don't try to make cars for everyone. They focus on a small segment of wealthy buyers who value performance, design, and exclusivity above all else. The power of the focus strategy comes from dedicating all your energy to a specific target. You can create a product and a service delivery system that is perfectly optimized for them, something the broad market players, who are trying to be many things to many people, simply cannot do. So we have these three paths: cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. Porter is very clear on this next point, and it's perhaps the most important lesson of all. You must choose. If you try to be all things to all people, if you try to be both the lowest cost and the most differentiated, serving every market segment at once, you will fail. You will become, in his famous phrase, stuck in the middle. A company that is stuck in the middle has no competitive advantage. It's trying to please everyone and ends up pleasing no one. Its costs are too high to compete with the cost leader, and its products aren't special enough to compete with the differentiators. Any profitable customer it finds will quickly be stolen by a competitor with a clear, sustainable advantage. This is what happened to Laker Airways. It began with a brilliant cost-focused strategy: no-frills flights for price-sensitive travelers on one key route. But as it grew, it lost its focus. It started adding frills, new services, and new routes. It tried to be a full-service airline and a budget airline at the same time. Its image blurred, its operations became compromised, and it became stuck in the middle. The cost leaders were cheaper, and the differentiators offered better service. Laker was squeezed from both sides, and the dream of the SkyTrain came to an end. Becoming stuck in the middle is a constant temptation. It's the siren song of growth for growth's sake. But Porter warns us that true, sustainable success comes from making a clear choice and having the discipline to stick with it. Now, this raises a profound question. How exactly does a company achieve cost leadership or differentiation? Where do these advantages actually come from? Saying you're going to be a cost leader is easy. Actually doing it is incredibly hard. To answer this, Porter gives us his most powerful and revolutionary tool. He tells us that we cannot understand competitive advantage by looking at a firm as a whole, as a single black box. We have to open it up. We have to look inside and see the machinery at work. He gives us a way to do this, a concept he calls the value chain. Imagine you have a special pair of X-ray glasses. When you look at a company, you don't just see a building or a logo. You see a series of distinct activities that the company performs to bring its product or service to life. The value chain disaggregates a firm into these strategically relevant activities, allowing us to understand the behavior of costs and the sources of uniqueness. Porter divides these activities into two types: primary activities and support activities. Primary activities are the ones directly involved in the physical creation of the product, its sale and transfer to the buyer, and after-sale service. There are 5 generic categories. 1. Inbound logistics. These are all the activities related to receiving, storing, and handling the inputs. For a car manufacturer, this is getting steel, rubber, and electronics into the factory. 2. Operations. This is where the inputs are transformed into the final product. It's the assembly line, the machining, the packaging. 3. Outbound logistics. Once the product is made, these activities get it to the customer. This includes warehousing, order processing, and shipping. 4. Marketing and sales. This is how you persuade buyers to purchase the product. It includes advertising, promotion, the sales force, and pricing. 5. Service. These are the activities that enhance or maintain the value of the product after it's sold, like installation, repair, and training. These 5 primary activities form the core flow of the business. But they don't happen in a vacuum. They are supported by another set of activities. Support activities provide the infrastructure that allows the primary activities to take place. There are 4 categories. 1. Procurement. This is the function of purchasing the inputs used across the value chain. It's not just raw materials, but everything from office supplies to machinery to advertising services. 2. Technology development. Every activity in the value chain uses technology, whether it's know-how, procedures, or technology embedded in equipment. This includes RAND, process design, and even improving office automation. 3. Human resource management. This consists of all the activities involved in recruiting, hiring, training, and compensating personnel. The quality of a company's people is a massive source of advantage. 4. Firm infrastructure. This is the glue that holds everything together. It includes general management, planning, finance, accounting, and quality management. It supports the entire chain, not just individual activities. Every company is a collection of these 9 types of activities. Competitive advantage, Porter shows us, doesn't come from some vague, overall strength. It stems from performing these specific activities more cheaply or better than your competitors. A cost leader, for instance, might gain its advantage from a highly efficient, automated assembly process operations, a low-cost physical distribution system, outbound logistics, or by minimizing overhead in its firm infrastructure. A differentiator might gain its advantage by sourcing exceptionally high-quality raw materials, procurement, through a superior product design that comes from its RAND Labs technology development, or a responsive order entry system that makes it easy for customers to do business with them. The value chain is a powerful diagnostic tool. It allows a manager to lay out all the activities their company performs and ask, for each one, how are we doing this compared to our rivals? Where can we lower costs? Where can we create more uniqueness? But the true genius of the value chain concept lies in what Porter calls linkages. The value chain is not a collection of independent activities. It's a system of interdependent activities. Linkages are the relationships between the way one activity is performed and the cost or performance of another. And this is where the most subtle and sustainable advantages are often found. For example, a company might decide to spend more on higher quality materials in procurement. This raises the cost of that activity. But if those better materials lead to fewer defects in manufacturing, it could drastically lower the cost of the operations and service activities. The net result could be a lower total cost. This is a linkage. Another example, a fast food chain carefully times its promotional campaigns or marketing activity to smooth out demand and ensure that its kitchens and operations activity are always running at high capacity, which lowers the cost per meal served. That's a linkage. Exploiting these linkages requires coordination and optimization across traditional departmental lines. The marketing department has to talk to the operations department. The procurement team has to work with the service team. Because this is so difficult to do, companies that can manage these linkages will often build a competitive advantage that is very hard for rivals to imitate. It's not one thing they do well, it's the way they fit all the pieces together. And the linkages don't stop at the company's front door. Porter shows us that a company's value chain is embedded in a larger value system. Your company has suppliers, and those suppliers have their own value chains. And your product passes through channels, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, who also have their own value chains. Finally, your product becomes an input into your buyer's value chain. The most successful companies understand this entire system. They don't just optimize their own chain, they find ways to create vertical linkages. For example, a company could work with its supplier to get raw materials delivered in a way that streamlines its own manufacturing process. A classic example is a chocolate company that arranges for its supplier to deliver liquid chocolate in heated tank cars instead of solid blocks. This saves the supplier the cost of molding and packaging, and it saves the chocolate company the cost of melting. A win-win. Similarly, a company can create linkages with its channels. A soft drink company might provide extensive training and support to its bottlers and distributors, helping them become more effective and, in turn, sell more of its product. Ultimately, differentiation is all about how your product fits into your buyer's value chain. You create value for a buyer in one of two ways. You either lower their costs or you raise their performance. A company that makes a more fuel-efficient truck engine isn't just selling an engine, it's selling lower fuel costs to a trucking company. A software company that makes its product easier to use isn't just selling software, it's selling lower training costs and higher productivity to its customer. By understanding how your value chain impacts your buyer's value chain, you can pinpoint the most powerful sources of differentiation. Finally, Porter explains that the shape of your value chain is profoundly affected by your competitive scope, the breadth of your ambition. This has 4 dimensions. Segment scope. Are you serving many types of customers, or just one? A focus strategy involves tailoring your value chain to a narrow segment. Vertical scope. How much of the value chain are you performing in-house? Do you make your own components, or do you buy them? This is the classic make versus buy decision. Geographic scope. Are you competing locally, nationally, or globally? A global company can gain huge cost advantages by sharing activities like R&D and manufacturing across many countries. Industry scope. Are you competing in just one industry, or in a range of related industries? A large, diversified company can create an advantage by finding interrelationships, sharing value activities, like a sales force or a brand name, across its different business units. This is how the vague idea of synergy becomes a concrete, powerful source of competitive advantage. So, let's put it all together. The profitability of the world you operate in is shaped by the 5 forces. To succeed in that world, you must build a sustainable competitive advantage. You have 3 paths to choose from: cost leadership, differentiation, or focus. Trying to do it all will leave you stuck in the middle. The tool for building that advantage is the value chain. You must break down your company into its discrete activities, understand the cost and uniqueness drivers in each, and, most importantly, master the linkages between them. You must also understand how your chain connects to the larger value system of your suppliers, channels, and buyers. This is the timeless framework that Michael Porter gave us. It's a way of thinking that cuts through the complexity and noise of business and gets to the very heart of what it takes to win. It's not about quick fixes or management fads. It's about deep analysis, hard choices, and the disciplined execution required to create something of lasting value. Commentary. As we step back and look at the landscape Michael Porter has mapped out for us in Competitive Advantage, it's hard not to be struck by how timeless and fundamental these ideas are. This book was written in 1985, a time of big hair, cassette tapes, and before the internet had changed the world. And yet, the principles of the 5 forces, the generic strategies, and the value chain are more relevant today than ever before. In a world that is constantly chasing the next new thing, the next disruptive technology, the next viral marketing trick, Porter's work is an anchor. It reminds us that behind all the noise, the fundamental physics of competition remain the same. Success isn't random. It's the result of a deliberate, well-thought-out strategy that creates real, sustainable value. What I find most powerful about this book is how it empowers you to think like a strategist. It takes the complex, messy world of a businessman and gives you a clear, systematic way to analyze it. It's like being handed the architectural blueprints to a skyscraper. Suddenly, you can see how the foundation supports the frame, how the electrical systems connect with the plumbing, and how every single element has a role to play in the integrity of the whole structure. So, how can you, a curious and ambitious person on the verge of your own journey, use these powerful ideas right now? Let me offer 3 simple ways to bring this book to life. First, become a strategic observer. The next time you walk into a store, use an app, or buy a product, don't just be a consumer. Put on your Porter glasses. Ask yourself, what is their competitive advantage? Are they trying to be a cost leader, like Aldi or a dollar store? Or are they a differentiator, like a specialty boutique or a high-end restaurant? Or are they a focuser, serving a very specific niche, like a store that only sells running shoes? Look for evidence. How is their store laid out? How do they advertise? What is their service like? You can start to see the value chain in action everywhere you look. This simple shift in perspective will change the way you see the world of business forever. Second, apply the value chain to yourself. You might not be running a company, but you are the CEO of your own life and career. Think about a goal you have. Maybe it's getting into a great college, learning to code, or becoming a standout athlete. What are the activities in your personal value chain? For college applications, it might be things like studying for exams, writing essays, participating in extracurriculars, and building relationships with teachers. Now, ask yourself the key questions. How can you perform each of those activities more efficiently? Cost leadership. How can you perform them in a way that makes you stand out? Differentiation. And most importantly, where are the linkages? For example, spending more time deeply researching a topic you're passionate about, an inbound logistics activity, could lead to a much more powerful and unique college essay and operations activity. By thinking in this systematic way, you can move from just working hard to working smart. And third, avoid the trap of being stuck in the middle. This is a profound lesson for life. It's incredibly tempting to try and be good at everything, to join every club, to pursue every hobby, to please every person. But as Porter shows, this is a recipe for mediocrity. The greatest successes, in business and in life, come from making choices. It's about having the courage to say, this is what I will be excellent at, which also means saying, these are the things I will not do. Choose your path. Whether you decide to be the best in the world at one broad skill, or the best in your small corner of the world at a niche one, a clear focus is the engine of all great achievement. That was a summary of Competitive Advantage by Michael E. Porter. We've explored the core concepts today, but I have to be honest with you. A summary is like looking at a photograph of the Grand Canyon. It can show you the colors and the shapes, but it can't convey the sheer scale, the feeling of the wind, the way the light changes over the course of a day. The real magic happens when you experience it for yourself. If any of the ideas we've talked about today have sparked something in you, I encourage you to pick up a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just about learning business theory. It's an education and a way of thinking that can bring clarity and power to everything you do. And if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another of the incredible books that have shaped the minds of the world's most successful people. Let's keep learning, and let's keep growing, together.